Welcome back, Inebri-art. This is Andy as always. We've actually been on a string of recording in person, but today we're back on Zoom. I don't think it's ever going to go away. Thanks a lot, COVID. But we're with Brandon Hoogenboom today, man. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, all musicians kind of find their start. I feel like all musicians kind of get started around like that middle school, high school time. Was that the same?
Oh yeah, I definitely did Battle of the Bands in high
Oh,
school.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was probably like high school, middle school. Yeah.
And
Um,
what was it at that time that like got you interested? Did someone gift you an instrument or
yeah, my parents got me a guitar when I was super young, but I think like a Christmas of like maybe sixth or seventh grade. But yeah, I was always just kind of like a bit more creative and not super interested in like a whole lot of sports or anything. So I always just leaned more towards art and music.
yeah, there are a few people that cross over that are athletic and creative, but I find most creatives aren't particularly athletic.
Yeah,
And
I'm
considering
hungry as hell.
I blew my knee out sleeping, so I'm right there with you.
Oh no,
I think that's an age thing
that's
too.
that's
But
impressive.
it sucked a lot. Um, I had hurt my knee a couple years ago, but just
I'm in the same boat.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
so at what point then did you decide to make it your career, and do it professionally?
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, I still kind of think it's a hobby at this point. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I will never stop making music, but yeah, it's more of yeah, just kind of get together with friends and write and kind of for my own sanity at the same time. But yeah, it's definitely feels like more of a hobby than a career at this point. But yeah, getting there. We'll see. The album is out in 2 days, so I hope.
Oh, and so by the time this actually airs, it'll have already come out,
Nice. Yeah.
and I'm assuming they can get it everywhere now that the Spotify and Bandcamp and
Yeah.
all the usual suspects.
Yep. Yep. All the streaming stuff. But yeah. Um, and then I have one single out today before the album. Sorry, my dog's barking.
Oh, that's okay. What kind of dog?
Luna, come here. She's a Frenchie,
Oh,
little
nice.
little
Yeah.
white one. Yeah, she's funny. She's
Uh,
she's crying, but
a good
anyway.
friend of mine has a couple of French bulldogs, and we were at a local brewery, and we were kind of like sitting off to the side, and this girl who had gone up to get a beer took forever, and she came back. She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just saw the cutest Frenchie," and I'm like, "Oh, was it Snarls Barkley?" And she's like, "Yeah, it was." I'm like, "Oh my god, Snarls is here!"
No way.
Oh, she's adorable.
Yeah, here she is.
Yeah. Oh,
She's a goof.
yeah. Um. So it's interesting that you say that you think of it as a hobby, and I feel like that's kind of the I don't want to say a trap. Trap's not the right word. An issue that I think creative people run into where, I've always done what I do because I enjoy doing it, but now it's my career. And so now I'm kind of at this point where I'm trying to find a legit hobby that I am not going to then try to like incorporate into work.
Right.
Do you ever worry about it becoming too much like work?
Um, yeah, I feel like at one point in my life it was um definitely a career, but it's just like the lifestyle is so hard and it's not sustainable. And yeah, I just like definitely kind of stepped back from trying to make it so much of a career. But yeah, I think there's that dangerous line of taking your passions and making it work. It kind of destroys it in a way. So you kind of have to humble yourself a little bit and kind of remember why you why you like it, why you do it, and why it brings you like some type of happiness or fun. But yeah, I definitely think it can go the wrong way for a lot of people. But I definitely like back in I think it was like 2015 or so. I kind of wrote music off and was like I'm done with it. But it slowly crept back into my life, and yeah, I just kind of have a new kind of I view it differently now and kind of like put some walls up and boundaries in a weird way. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's really an important thing to do is kind of have those kind of expectations and boundaries because it is, once you're like, okay, this is my sole source of income, and you put out an album, and if you're not feeling motivated or creative, you still have to create another album. You still have to play out because that's your income. And I think that makes a lot of bands kind of put stuff out that isn't quality, or they kind of
yeah.
phone it in or whatnot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's definitely the pressure to be like have a song out consistently, always working on music. And I don't know. I just kind of take it as it comes now. And yeah, I enjoy writing. I enjoy sitting down and writing with songs, but I feel like the ones that really mean something to me just come at random times.
Yeah, whenever they want to come.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
interesting. Um, but do you try to, regardless of they come when they come, but do you try to kind of write every day, or are you still just kind of like if
I
the
probably
mood strikes
should.
you?
No, I've been on a pretty dry spell right now. Yeah, we like recorded the album and then I guess I have a couple songs that are ready to go, but it was just kind of like it was probably a good 7, 8 months that we took to record this album just over the course of it, which was really fun because a lot of times a lot of times for me, it's been like studio time. It's like
Mhm.
for the day, I get everything done. Whereas this time, I rented out the room in a front of this studio in Costa Mesa here in California, and so I was attached. Like I do like graphic design work on the for work as well. So I like used it as a studio, but I kind of also used it to put myself in an environment where I was consistently around music. There's two other guys in the studio who are huge uh, parts of the album. They had a huge part in the album, and that's Stefan Mack and Bobby Kurkowski. Um, and so we kind of just because we saw each other pretty much every day, we were always talking about it, always working on parts, always kind of like just getting ideas going, and that was a lot of fun. And to kind of have that amount of time to really let the songs develop and instead of a very like short schedule, like kind of pressured um, to get everything done, and you know, yeah, that kind of thing. So,
That I love that kind of environment, and they can be really tough to find where you're kind of surrounded with other creative people, kind of doing not even necessarily doing the same thing, but kind of the same mindset. And it's
yeah,
so invaluable to kind of when you need a break, you can step away from what you're doing and go, chit chat with them, and it still keeps you in the same mindset. Like I'm not a person that can work from home. I have to get up,
yeah,
shower, and go somewhere.
yeah. Well, it sounds like kind of like how you guys started too, like just artists sitting, like catching up, drawing in a bar somewhere. You
Yeah,
know,
for
you
sure.
need that, like you need those other people who are on the same level or just have the same interests, and it just builds this kind of like community or friendship. And I mean, that's how a lot of bands have been that I've been in. Just like you become family pretty quickly, and you're bearing your emotions to the world, and you share the performance with all your buddies. So that to me is more important than a lot of what is what is expected um, with all this music stuff. It's just kind of like, oh, I get a chance to like be with my friends, and my sister sings in the band, so get to see her and just be with friends and family. So it's
And I
great.
think that kind of, community keeps you, like, holds you accountable too. Like, they're not the ones, if you play it for your friends who aren't musicians, or, you show drawing to someone who's not an artist,
Hmm.
they're gonna be like, oh, that's great. Because they don't have the frame of reference to be like, oh, maybe you should do it this way, or, this sounds a little, off key or whatever,
Right.
because they all understand that you want that criticism, to,
Very true.
do you have like a specific person that you bring your stuff to first? Like, is
For
there,
this particular album, it was definitely Bobby, the drummer. We spent like weeks just kind of like sitting through playing like I would just play bass and he'd play drums, and we'd just play the songs just drum and bass and like get the parts out. And he actually helped with some of the arrangements and some of the lyrics in a couple of the songs, like "Shame on Us" that's out today. He helped a lot on that one. Um, and Yeah, it's just fun to throw ideas around. But Bobby's also really good at like engineering and recording stuff. So, which I'm not at all. I can turn on a mic and kind of like make it sound good, but yeah, the other guys in the studio are definitely more the gear guys. Um, and so that uh, kind of give and take was really cool too, because they were so helpful in a lot of ways. But yeah, Bobby's really good. He has a great ear for all kinds of things, and would definitely like um, threw some ideas around that were surprising to me and also that I really liked. So it's always good to have that camaraderie in a way. And then Stefan, who he's mostly like a mixing engineer, but he's a great musician as well. Some of the arrangements that he brought into the project were super cool. Just like little B sections or turnarounds or transitions into in different parts of the song. So um, yeah, those two guys were definitely a huge part in the album.
so we've been doing these podcasts for about 8 years or so. And of course, right in the middle of those 8 years, we had lockdown and the pandemic. And I found it fascinating. There were two types of people. There are people who, like, I have no creative juice now, and I'm just binging Netflix. And then other people found it like, it's great because I can just sit in the studio and work all day. Um, so now I think we're starting to kind of see stuff, get recorded that was written and created. And I'm really curious if we're going to see like a trend coming out of COVID. Have you noticed any change into the way your music is? Has it changed tone or?
Um, maybe a little bit. Yeah, maybe some sarcasm in
Yeah.
sprinkled here and there. But no, I'm on the same boat as you a bit. On like definitely I'm way more of a homebody now. And which I never really understood. But yeah, now I definitely like alone time a lot more, and like um and understand it and kind of like have been getting a lot of rest. But I was definitely like way more social of a human before
Yeah.
lockdown and everything. So um yeah, I guess that will probably shine through in some of the songs. Probably like Shame on Us that's out today, and then another song, Walls, on the album is there's definitely like some lyrics in there that are talking. It's not directly saying like this is about the pandemic, but like you could probably figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just interesting because I mean, I've even seen like some changes in, like, big budget media, like they have, I don't know if you've seen Last of Us yet.
Yes, dude. We
It's
just
so
watching it.
good.
Yeah, I we finished episode 4, and I was like, damn it, like I need more.
Yeah. And I love the way that streaming are now putting out like one or two a week. I think
It
that's
definitely keeps you interested. Yeah, I
but
I dig it. But yeah, that show is awesome. Like just another kind of zombie kind of show, but it's cool.
yeah. And it is, but I felt it reminds me a lot of like early Walking Dead where like there were zombies, but it was more about the people and
Right. Yeah.
but and I don't play video games, so I couldn't tell you, people be like, "Oh, it's just like the video game." I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you.
I don't play video games either. Yeah.
Um, do you find other things like, either TV, movies, visual art, like affects your music writing? Or do you,
Uh, Not really.
well, how do you start with a
Really,
song? Do you start with the lyrics or do you kind of like
it
work?
depends. A lot of this most recent stuff is like definitely just like emotional stuff that I'm going through, and it's almost like a processing of emotions for me. Like I can sit down and just kind of like write what I'm feeling and then be like, oh yeah, that is how I feel. Because a lot of times I like have a hard time articulating myself in a lot of circumstances. Just like socially, I can just kind of shrug stuff off or just joke around instead of trying to um, I don't know, talk about how I'm feeling. But music is always like something that I can do that with, and just because you get a little bit more personal, a little bit more raw on exactly how you're feeling, and you can like almost confront things that you don't want to. So yeah, I usually have maybe like some a chord progression that I like, um, or maybe a melody, and then I kind of like I'll try and find a melody that works with the chord progression, or I'll try and find a chord progression that works with the melody. But um, yeah, there's never a true recipe
Yeah.
with songwriting. It's just kind of like sometimes it happens. Sometimes you write a song in 5 minutes. Sometimes you write a song in 5 years, and yeah.
With
But
stuff that it can be so, meaningful and representative of what you're going through personally, have you ever like written a song and been like, I can't put that out, that's too personal?
um, yes, I think I can't think of I can think of some that I like started and then I didn't finish,
Yeah.
probably for that reason because I
Yeah.
was like, this is too much. Like, fuck this one. Uh, but I think a lot of the time, most of the times, I do feel a little bit uneasy about some of them, and I'm like, oh, this could be too much. And then, but a lot of the songs, I just put out anyway because I think I've learned through like years of writing music and playing music, like you're gonna feel differently about that song in a couple of years than you did in that moment, and it might mean you might not feel, that's the same exact way, and you might actually like it more
Yeah.
later down the road, or you might hate it in a lot of cases because you grow artistically. A lot of this old stuff, it's almost embarrassing, but yeah, I think I'm pretty comfortable with having like putting songs out, even if it's about things that are questionable or um, maybe not something that I would particularly want to like talk to anybody about.
I think that's one of my favorite things about creative people is we can simultaneously love something and dislike it all at the same time.
Yeah,
Where you're like, oh, I really like this piece, and like really, I'm like, well, except for this, and this. But I mean, overall,
yep. You're just
yeah.
like, all right, at some point, this is done. Yeah, no, I
And that
feel
is the
that.
trick. Like, how do you figure out that point when it's done? Because I feel like there's been so many pieces that I've worked on that you're like, no, I want to do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and then you're like, oh, now it's garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. You never know. You could work something way too hard. Um, s- yeah, I think I think you just have to kind of be less attached, or you have to figure out how to make yourself less attached to um, kind of the final product, or like the desire to make something perfect, because it's never going to be. You can get close, like you can, get really good at your craft and kind of dial in things and like um, figure out some good ways to do things. But yeah, nothing ever comes out the same or perfectly. And I find like when you when you just kind of like have um, the rawness of almost like the first take of every song always tends to be the best. You start
Mhm.
to overthink and overperform, where like really the first initial kind of attempt is almost always the best in a lot of cases.
You said that you have to kind of detach from it, and I totally relate to that because I found a little trick, and I'll if I'm working on something and I want to see it how other people see it, I take a photo on my cell phone and then I look at the photo, and for some reason that gives me enough distance where I can see flaws that I wasn't seeing before,
Oh,
or
no
kind
way.
of, yeah, it's really weird. Um,
That's cool.
is there like a musical trick like that? Like if you listen in your car, is it different than if you like listened in the studio that, just
Yeah,
gives you.
definitely. Yeah. There's definitely listening on different mediums. I know a lot of like dudes will have different speakers that they can like just switch to, or like an old vintage speaker. But it could be that, or it could be just like fully changing the feel of a song. Like we just did a little live video, and it was just me and my sister Chelsea and my buddy Matt, um, and we did like an acoustic um, version of Shame on Us, and we made it really swingy.
Okay.
And I ended up really liking that like way that it made us like change the melody a little bit to fit the like swinginess of it, because the recording is super straight. And yeah, I think not being afraid to like completely change something and explore that, um wherever it leads you, is like really important, um because a lot of artists can find themselves like really one track minded on like, this is how it's supposed to be, this is how the song was written, and this is my like how I did it.
Yeah.
Where if you let some other like influences come in, it can take it to a better place of like, or it can take it to a place that's better for that song or not. But also just have a couple different versions of the song if you want. you know,
Yeah, and it also makes me think of do you know who Adam Savage is?
I do not.
He was on
Fill me
Mythbusters.
in. Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I know it.
So it was like a show on Discovery that they blow things up. He was a special effects artist and model maker, and sometimes he says when he's struggling to figure out what color something should be painted, he'll paint it the color that he knows it shouldn't be painted, and that somehow doing that kind of like jogs and be like, oh no, no, okay, now I know it's not supposed to be orange, so I'm going to paint it orange, and then you paint it like, okay, now I have a better perspective and
Yeah,
kind of
just
start
to,
over.
exactly, so you can see it. Yeah, for what, like in a different light. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
Um.
I feel the same with design stuff too, because I do a lot of graphic design. It's like you have to throw everything at the board and see it all in context before you can actually like make uh like kind of assemble everything into what you're trying to make. Um, but yeah,
And I feel like there's an important thing about getting like the bad idea out. Um.
yeah, definitely.
We Inebri-art, we spend a lot of time in the car traveling from event to event.
Mm.
And me and my business partner, I love dad jokes and puns. And so we'll get stuck on a stupid pun idea and we'll be like, oh, fish/art puns. And we'll just, it's the car, just keeping yourself amused in the car. And every once in a while, you have to be like, all right, I'm going to say this. I know it's stupid. I know it's a bad one, but I
Oh
have to
yeah,
get it out of my head so I can then. So
yeah,
there's really something about kind of just getting out a bad idea into the world to just be like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's that. I can now think about something else.
You would get along really well with my buddy Billy. He's king of dad jokes. Yeah, we had a similar thing. Like a bunch of us were out to dinner like a couple months ago, and we were on like it. We were everybody was on like this one theme joke, and someone would sometimes it would fall flat, and everyone would
Yeah.
just be like, "Oh, dad." Like,
And it's
man,
always I always love
yeah,
when we do it too, because like it'll be like we'll joking around, whatever, and then like someone will start off the pun train, and then like
yeah,
you'll get a few like fast, and then it'll get dead quiet,
yeah,
and you'll be like, you're just thinking about puns, aren't you? He's like, yeah, totally.
yeah. Dude, yeah, sometimes I'll think of one because I'm horrible with puns and like dad jokes, but I'll like think of one and like wait to like throw it out. Or like it just or Billy, my friend King of the Dad Jokes just will be like, it was all right. It's just like, damn it.
Yeah. Still to this day, my absolute favorite dad joke is there's two wind turbines in a field. And the first wind turbine turns to the second wind turbine and says, hey, do you like country music? And the other wind turbine says, no, I'm a big metal fan.
Uh, Dad. I
But it's
love
great.
it.
Like, and like me and my kids will text jokes back and forth. They're
Yeah.
just, there's something about them that they're just so stupid, but they,
Yeah.
they somehow still pull a laugh.
Get wholesome fun.
Yeah.
Love it.
So something I like to ask a lot of musicians, I just dropped my pen. What are you listening to? Like, what's you know, give someone else a
Yeah,
shout
man.
out. Like, what's good that I'm not listening to?
I've been thinking about that a little bit this week because I haven't been listening to a whole lot of music. I've been like deep in podcasts, but there's definitely like a ton of friends
Well,
and
what
like,
podcast are you listening to? Because I'm a huge podcast person too, I suppose.
oh man, I mean, I listen to Armchair Expert quite a bit, pretty into that, but and then they have like multiple podcasts within that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Inspired Unemployed, the Australian dudes. I lived in Australia for a while, so I uh I cling on to anything Australian. Uh they're super funny. It's kind of like they're not even really like comedians. They're just kind of like influencer kind of dudes.
Yeah.
Um, but that one's super funny. And then like TMG podcast. Um, yeah. What about you?
Uh, well, the Inebri-art podcast, obviously. No. Weird thing is, I never listen to our podcast. Um, Sawbones is one of my favorites.
Okay,
So
I haven't heard that.
Sawbones is
Sounds
it's a
spooky.
husband and wife um pairing, and the wife is a doctor, and the husband's just a professional podcaster, and they will basically take some sort of ailment or medicine. They'll do, say, I don't know, eczema, and they will go all the way back in history to find like the first reported case of eczema and be like, at that point they, would rub it down with bull dung and sheep urine, and then they'll walk you through history and about like how, the medicine's changed over time and up to like how we treat it today.
That's
And
rad.
yeah, it's really well done because the husband kind of plays the idiot, so he's really funny, and she's a lot of fun too,
Yeah.
but she's kind of the informative one, and he's kind of the fool of it, and it's really good.
Yeah, those are the best kind of conversations for sure.
Yeah, and then the one podcast that got us into podcasting is No Such Thing as a Fish,
Okay. I haven't heard
and
that one yet. I gotta check it out.
it's for researchers for there's a British show called QI, and it's just kind of like a weird trivia panel show. They basically ask impossibly hard trivia questions,
Uh,
And so these are researchers for that show, and they present like the four most interesting facts they've discovered during that week. And it's again, it's if you like bar trivia, it's great because it kind of scratches that same itch, but
nice.
they're also really funny.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely gonna check that out. Yeah, I just am in my car and like driving around, and I sometimes I just get like so over music. It goes in phases though. Sometimes it'll be all music for months, and then I'll like switch to podcasts or whatever. But um,
Do you find being a musician, I don't want to say ruins your enjoyment, but I've gone to see people perform with musicians and had to turn and be like, "Will you shut up? I don't care if his G string is like slightly like I'm here for the fun of like going out." And do you ever like kind of have to
I
shut off that
definitely
musician
went.
part?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I went through a phase of like not going to any gigs unless I was like super into the band or like I really like admired the artist. I definitely was that like kind of snobby guy, music guy. I was like, I don't want to go. Uh, I don't know. I definitely am out of that phase now, but yeah, it's weird. You kind of like overanalyze things when they shouldn't be overanalyzed. You just kind of want to go for the experience, and and yeah, I don't know. I
I,
definitely
I was very much a music snob in I would I've always been the kind of person to like go seek out new music, and then I'd find something and then it would become popular and I'd be like, ugh, I can't even listen to that. You ruined it for me.
right,
That was the hipster before it was cool.
right. That's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely enjoy it more now. And me and my wife, we love like that's one of our favorite things to do together is go to shows or um yeah, that kind of thing. We definitely like bonded over that. But I don't know. I just like I'd rather I'd rather not like go and like ruin it for myself, and
Yeah.
be like, I didn't enjoy that. So I kind of like funnel it down a little bit more now where I'm like, yeah, I'll go to a show if I'm super into that album or whatever is new. But yeah, I haven't been listening to a whole lot of music lately. Um, a lot of I've been super inspired by a lot of people that I've met this year that are chasing kind of the same dream, and writing and just like sharing songs with friends. So that's been super fun. Kind of just trying to meet more people that are doing the same thing, or um, it just creates more interest, and it's fun to kind of tag tag along with people on what they're trying to do.
I find it can, especially if I'm kind of hitting kind of a wall, if I meet someone who's new or really getting involved and their energy can kind of be contagious, where you're like, oh yeah, that's why I do this.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
totally. I feel like
so
everybody is kind of on fire right now, trying to do stuff out of COVID. Like I feel like there's been this big creative kind of boom from a lot of people. So super excited about that.
yeah, and like crowds are starting to come back and events are starting to come back and it's nice to see, but there still are people who are just like, I built a home bar and now I hang out there.
Yeah,
I spent all this time refurbishing my house and now I just love hanging out there. So
right.
it's weird because sometimes it is tough to get people like back in the flow of just kind of like being social again.
Totally. I think a lot of people feel that. And yeah, definitely a lot of people are feeling that.
Yeah. Uh, so the new album comes out tomorrow. So by the time this airs, it will be out. What was the name of the album? Sorry.
Yeah, it comes out Friday, February 10th. It's called Good for Nothing, and then in parentheses, a spiraling blackout montage.
And they can find it on all the music platforms. Are there going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be hard copies, CDs, vinyl, cassettes? Apparently, people make cassettes again now. That's stupid.
Yeah. I just this is kind of funny. I just bought like a CD burner with like 10 different burning trays.
Yeah.
So I can like hand make some CDs for we're doing a album release party on Friday night. We have a gig and I'm gonna like hand make some CD cases and uh do that. But I just have like merch patches and t-shirts, but I don't know. I would love to make some vinyl, but it takes forever.
This
And
could be fairly expensive, I would think too.
yeah, yeah, it is. But it'd be sweet to just do like 100 copies or something. I think I'm gonna do that eventually.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm really stoked on the artwork and how that
Oh,
all
of
can be.
course, because you're a designer. So
Yeah, I had some buddies
you appreciate the album
definitely
cover.
collaborate. Yeah, I had my friend Hannah did a portrait of me, and then I had my buddy Mason embroider the text. So it's kind of like a multimedia kind of collage of some different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really stoked on that. And it'd be sweet to get some big get it printed on vinyl. But we'll see. Yeah, I'll definitely do it. I'll definitely do
Yeah.
it. It's not.
And what about your music social medias? Is Instagram or
Yeah, Hoogenboom. It's Hoogen.boom on Instagram. That's kind of like, and I think it's the same on TikTok. Just trying to get on the TikTok game. No
yeah,
idea what
yeah,
to do.
join the club, man. I think we have like 6 videos in the last 8 months
Yeah,
because I'm just like, yeah,
yeah,
I mean, it's just another thing I got to do.
yeah. I feel the same about that. Yeah, I just want to focus on the music. So, gonna be playing more gigs this year and getting out, doing that kind of thing.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to
yeah,
talk
dude.
to us. It's a lot of fun.
It was great
And
talking.
I'm definitely going to check out that podcast because that sounds really interesting.
Yeah,
And
likewise. We'll have to DM each other those.
oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thanks again for taking the time. Listeners, you know where to find us next week when we'll be talking with, I don't even know who we're going to be talking with. I don't have any idea. But you can check us out again next week.
right on.
And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. Thanks again for listening.